Good morning. Happy Saturday. Welcome. Great to have you here on the Empowered Living page. My name is Paul Martinelli, and we're going to continue our study into the Fully Resourced program today. We'll get started here just in maybe 30 seconds, give some more people an opportunity to jump in. I hope you're enjoying this. Again, in the comment sections below, our team is kind of giving you links where you can see our YouTube channel, where you can go and catch some of the past lessons, and also where you can sign up for all kinds of free stuff, free content that we have on the Empowered Living page. Again, welcome. Great to have you guys here. So let's go ahead and jump in. So in the last lesson, we were talking about the power there is when we can hold the image of what it is that we want. So this is where we build the mental model of perfection. So we know what our dream is. And if we can hold that in our mind, regardless of the condition and circumstances, what happens is that it actually changes the vibrational frequency of our thinking, which then of course gets expressed in our body and then is expressed in our actions. It sets us up to be causative in the universal law of cause and effect. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So I kind of liken it that once we have this idea in our mind, and we're intensifying it by focusing on it, by thinking about it, by visualizing it, by writing it out, and most importantly, by taking action that's in harmony with it, we're literally broadcasting out to the universe or the mind of God what our intention is for what we create. And as we broadcast that out, we begin attracting to us the people, the things, the conditions, the circumstances, the other ideas, the resources necessary for its fulfillment. We also have been looking at this idea of the invisible boundaries that we create based on our belief system, and how those boundaries form a thought pattern that has us marginalize and diminish ourselves, so we're not playing full out in our life, and how doing this keeps us stuck where we don't want to be. In this upcoming clip here, we're going to talk about building on this idea of our internal self-image, who we need to be and how we build our own self-image. Remember, our self-image is the image we hold of ourselves based on what we believe about ourselves and what we believe others see in us. Closely tied to self-image, yet different, is our self-esteem. Self-esteem is our personal self-regard, how I value me. It's my self-worth, isn't it? And our self-esteem, our self-value, our self-worth is based on what we believe about ourselves and what we believe other people believe our value is and what our worth is. The composite of those two things create our self-identity. And this is where we begin to build either bridges or roadblocks to our success. We're also going to introduce some of these universal laws. We'll talk about one of these laws in this section. Through the whole Fully Resourced program, we cover all 7 universal laws. These are the laws of creation. You find them expressed in everything in the universe. This is what governs the way that we think, behave, and ultimately create in our life. So this week we have an 11-minute clip from the program. Remember, the program itself it's either a 6 or 12-month mentorship program with 6 hours of this content with a workbook and exercises. And then there's live monthly calls with me where I'm mentoring you through answering your questions and helping you formulate your plan to be, do, and have what it is that you want in your life. So enjoy this clip. I'll see you on the other side.
Now, the starting point of this teaching is that you and I think in pictures. Try it out. If I ask you to think of a home, you don't see the letters H-O-M-E, you see a picture of a home. If I were to ask you to think of a refrigerator, you don't see the word refrigerator or the letters that make up the word refrigerator. You actually see an image of a refrigerator. Now, here's the really interesting thing, if you think about it. You probably saw a picture of your home or your refrigerator. In other words, you didn't see my home or my refrigerator. You saw yours, or one that you've been somehow connected with, emotionally involved with, if you will. So when I ask you to think of something, there's a part of your mind that accesses the stored information in your mind, and that information flashes on the screen of your mind. Now, the more emotionally involved we are with the concept or the thought, then the clearer the picture of that image is. So when we are asked to think of something that we don't have a stored memory of or a file of, the picture is blank or it's blurred. It's not clear. And that lack of clarity causes us to immediately experience confusion in our thinking. Now, depending on the consequences of us not having this clear image or thought to work with, that confusion very quickly can turn to emotional energy of maybe fear or doubt or anxiety. See, the lack of a clear picture can cause us to move to a place of self-judgment. And we say things like, I'm stupid, or I can't believe I did that. What a failure I am. And sadly, when it comes to personal growth and achievement, most people have no image to work with. When it comes to money or financial matters, most people have a very clear image of what they do not want. They have a clear image of scarcity, of lack, of limitation. I had a very clear image of financial struggle. I didn't have a clear image of my home on the Atlantic Ocean and the sounds of the waves and the smell of the salt air. I had a clear image of me worrying about paying my rent, about what would happen to me if I got evicted from my apartment for not paying the rent. So when it came to the image of my car, I didn't have the image of my Cadillac Escalade that I drive now. I had an image of my old beat-up car with kind of all the red warning lights that would come on whenever I would turn the ignition key, when I would start it. Or the sound of when I would turn the wheel, there would be this click, 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 click of kind of the worn out CV joint that I lacked the money to get fixed. See, most people have built images for sure. They've built images. But what they've done is they built images of what we do not want. And that does not serve us. And then we kind of think that it's our fate when those images actually manifest themselves in the physical world, into our physical life. Now, we know that all creation begins in thought. All creation begins in thought. Just take a look around for a moment. You probably have a computer in your field of vision, like maybe even a cell phone, a TV set, a couch, or a chair. And you probably have some type of table or lamp that you can see in your field of vision right now. What you want to first recognize is that all of these things that you see in your physical world have as their ancestry thought, meaning that before they became a thing, someone had to think of them. See, everything is created twice. Think about that. Everything is created twice. It's first created in the mind of a person, comes in as a thought, and then that thought or images begins to move into physical form, following a very lawful process. It doesn't happen by luck or chance, but by divine law. So your thinking as a creative being is the starting point of all that you create in your life. Now, because most people are ignorant of kind of the laws of creation, they just lack the understanding, and they lack the awareness of one of these laws called the law of gender. The law of gender governs the gestation and incubation period of all things. We know the gestation period for corn as an example. It takes 60 to 100 days, depending on the factors like heat and light and water and kind of the region of the world, from the time that seed is planted until the corn is fully developed and manifest. We also know that unless that corn seed is placed in an environment conducive to its growth and its unfoldment, it will not develop. So most people wish positive and then think negative. And their seed of prosperity or their seed of great achievement never fully develops and grows. So your thought, think about this, your thought, your dream, this ideal life that you would love to have, that seed can't and won't grow in toxic soil. And the toxicity of most people's thinking is in their old and negative programming. the toxicity of fear, doubt, worry, anxiety, self-judgment, lack, limitation, poverty. These are at some level and some degree the dominant images that they hold of themselves and their potential. In addition to killing their dream and desire seed with toxic thinking, most people quit after a very short period of time. Again, because really they lack the understanding of how to think and the laws that govern how we think, how we behave, how we manifest. And in their ignorance, they quit. They just quit trying. They fail to see the evidence of change soon enough, and on the physical plane of their life, that they simply go back and default to their old toxic thinking patterns. So the law of gender, which is just one of 7 laws of creation, is very clear. There is a gestation and incubation period for all seeds: physical seeds, intellectual seeds, and spiritual seeds. And if we quit, if we don't nurture those seeds, they die. Again, because we don't see the evidence, we think it's not working. But I remind you of what I shared earlier in the program, that the truth is not always in the appearance of things. I can remember when I first moved to Florida. I was living on the east coast of Florida in Palm Beach County, and my mom was living on the west coast over in Naples, Florida. And the only way to kind of cross the state was to drive through sugarcane country. And I can remember for what seemed like hours as I would pass these huge fields with the blackest, darkest, richest looking soil I had ever seen. They call the soil in this part of Florida black gold because sugarcane is a huge money crop in the state of Florida. And I was taken aback by how far-reaching the fields were. I grew up kind of in Pittsburgh as a city kid. I had never seen like farmland. It was as far as you could see. All there were these big, huge, empty fields with this rich black soil. And these fields had these big, huge kind of like water cannons that would just spray water, just shoot water. And they would just, it looked like as though, they were watering dirt. And I would drive back and forth on weekends to my mom's home. And for what seemed like weeks, I thought, what a waste of water. I didn't grow up in a farming community, so I didn't understand what was going on really under the soil. I mean, I had an intellectual understanding, but not enough of an understanding that prevented me from thinking, this was a waste of water. I mean, I live in a state, here I am, I'm living in Florida, and all I see is, messages about, water shortages, and they sure seem to be wasting a lot of water on these empty fields. Then one weekend I made the trip to my mom's house, and it seemed like everything, all of a sudden, like out of the blue, right? All of a sudden, everything seemed to change. Those black fields, they were covered with the greenest green I've ever seen. Now, I've never been out to the Rockies, and I know people say that, when the new green comes in, it's like the greenest, but I'm telling you, this was the greenest thing I had ever seen. It was beautiful. It was stunning, especially with the sunlight. I mean, all you could see was just this brightness of just, I don't even know how to, just like fresh green. It was so dense that you could barely even see the soil that it was growing in, that was producing it. See, the truth wasn't in the appearance of things. See, all those weeks where there was growth taking place under the soil, I couldn't see it. Now, the farmers knew exactly what they were doing. They were waiting as one with understanding would wait. They were creating an environment conducive for that seed to grow. And to do so, you and I have to do the same with our dreams and our desires. James Allen, in his book, As a Man Thinketh, said, we need to nurture, foster, and cherish our dreams. Think about it. He says, we need to nurture, foster, and cherish our dreams. And so I ask you now, think of your dreams. Think of your dreams. Think of your desires. Think of your goals. Really do that. Just think of them for a second. Now let me ask you, can you honestly say that you are nurturing them? Are you fostering? Are you cherishing them? Or are you doing what I did and what most people do? Kind of hoping things will work out, worrying if everything will be okay, praying kind of with crossed fingers that things will change and that you will somehow get good luck before it's all lost and you have to surrender and quit your goals. Now, with this understanding of kind of the law of gender and that the truth isn't in the appearance of things, let's go back to this diagram that I was speaking.
All right. What a powerful idea that the truth is not always in the appearance of things. Isn't that true? I always tell the story that when I was in fifth grade, my fifth grade teacher was John Galmoff, a fantastic teacher, and I remember him. We walked into the classroom one day, and he had soil there, and the styrofoam cups and magic markers and seeds, and all of us put we grabbed the cup, all of us put a little bit of dirt on the bottom, dropped some seeds in, filled back dirt up, watered it, put our name on it, and we put it on the windowsill. And, all during that first day, because we were ignorant, in other words, we didn't understand, we lacked the awareness and understanding of the laws of creation, in this case, the law of gender that governs the incubation and gestation period of things. All during that first day, we were running to the window to see, if our seeds were growing, if it was quote unquote working. And we would say, Mr. Galmoff, it's not working, it's not working. He would say, it's working. And the next morning, we would all arrive at the school early, run up to the windowsill as soon as we got into the classroom and check. And again, it would appear that nothing was happening. And we would water it and still nothing would grow. Midday, we would check, nothing. End of the day, we would check. We did this for, 4, 5, maybe 7 days in a row, running up to the windowsill to see if it was working. By probably the 7th day, I don't think any of us even went to the window. Right? Our belief and our expectation was that it wasn't working. And then one girl said, mine's working. And we all kind of ran to the window. And sure enough, there was a little bit of a sprout. All of a sudden, on top of this black soil was a little bit of green. And now we believed it was working. The truth is that it was working all along. We couldn't see it with our physical senses of sight. But below that dirt, below the surface from what we could see, that seed was germinating. It was attracting from the soil everything necessary for the fulfillment of its potential. And that's what you and I do. And of course, it started to root. And then it started to sprout. So the truth is not in the appearance of things. And oftentimes, when I'm mentoring people one-on-one, or when they're in our mastermind groups and I get my opportunity to work with them one-on-one, I can see their growth long before they can see their growth. They're looking at their externalized results as an indication of their growth, as evidence or proof. And I know just from the quality of the questions they're asking, I can tell just from their level of awareness, from their understanding, that they're growing internally much greater than maybe even their results would indicate. We grow first on the inside long before the evidence appears on the outside. And so this fully resourced program is a program that introduces you to these ideas and helps you keep your mindset right while you're in the process of goal achievement. We have to have the right mindset when we set goals. Remember, goal setting is an intellectual process. Goal achievement is a lawful process. It's when our thinking and our behavior, that's what praxis is. The praxis is the integration between thought and behavior. It's when our thinking and our behavior are congruent, and then, and only then, do we begin to see the results in our life. And, I can give so many different, examples of this from people who are going through the program. But what I'm trying to do when I'm working with someone is keep them in this idea of seeking the kingdom within. And that's the purpose really of the fully resourced program. It's not just an intellectual study. It's not just a knowledge dump. There's fantastic information for sure, but information doesn't change people's lives. You know that. It's the application of the idea over a sustained period of time that creates the transformation that we want in our lives. So I'm going to guide you through 3 questions based on just this 6-minute clip. And remember, This is, I'm sorry, 11-minute clip. This is an 11-minute clip of a 6-hour year-long program. So question number one is what would your life look like, and what would your life feel like if you were to sit down and write out what that mental model perfection is? If you could sit down and write for me a description of what your life would be like, what it would look like, what it would feel like, what would be the emotional state. And remember, that's critically important, right? There's two parts to our mind, if you will. There's the thinking mind, and then there's the emotional mind. And we want to engage that emotional mind, right? Emotion, energy and motion. It's the part of us that controls, our vibrational frequencies. It's the part that will move us into action. I want you to write out what your dream and what your life would look like completed, and how you would feel once it is completed. To the degree that if you were to read that to me, or you were to read that to someone else, that they would be able to describe it back to you with perfect clarity. I've never known anybody to do this exercise and what they write not come into fruition in their life sometime later in their life. It's amazing. I can go back to, I've got boxes in my garage full of just notebooks that I would dream build, and I would write down exactly what I wanted for my life. This house, and everything in it is written in a book where I first built the image in my mind, and over time, this is now the house that I live in. If you think about it, everything you see, the couch that you see in the background, the table, the chandeliers, the desk that you're working from right now, the chair you're sitting on, the clothes you're wearing, everything has its ancestry thought. Everything's created twice. First in the mind of an individual, and then expressed in a physical form. I have a picture in my house of me looking up at the Sistine Chapel. I rented the Sistine Chapel, so it's just me and a security guard. And I brought along Christian Del Rosario, my photographer. And he was outside the door and captured a picture of me looking at Michelangelo's artwork. And I was really looking at a copy, wasn't I? The copy was on the ceiling. The original was on the screen of the mind of Michelangelo. So take the time to sit down and write it all out. The power in this is when we have clarity, we mitigate the risk of having fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I call it FUD, right? Nobody wants to be in a FUD state where you're filled with fear, you're filled with uncertainty, and you're filled with doubt. So you want to write this out with as much clarity. Number two is I want you to write down, what evidence do you see in your life? What evidence do you see in your life right now that this dream is beginning to move into form? You see, the idea you have in your mind, the dream you have right now, is just an intellectual seed. At one time, it was in the mind of God. It was a spiritual seed. You weren't even aware of your dream. You may have only become aware of your dream in the last 6 months or maybe 6 years. Now, I'm right now, at the time of this recording, I'm 55 and a half years old. And I've got dreams that I've written out. I didn't have those dreams when I was 25. Now, this house was in the mind of God long before it was on my dream card, long before I'd ever thought of it. See, it was in the mind of God, and then through the process of desire. Desire is the effort of an unexpressed possibility within us, seeking expression within through us. I tapped into the mind of God. I became aware that I wanted to be and do and have more. I became aware of more resources in my life. And then I formulated an idea. Now I have an intellectual seed. The next natural, lawful expression for an idea in your mind is to be expressed in physical form. The only thing that can kill that or abort that life of your dream is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Only you. The economy can't kill it. The government can't kill it. The competitors can't kill it. Employees can't kill it. The only thing that can derail your dream is you. So what we want you to do is we want you to begin to identify the evidence in your life that this is beginning to happen. And look, everything matters. So no matter how big or how small, how maybe even insignificant this piece of evidence is, you may write down that you've had other ideas. So you had an idea for building your business, and then another idea came, and then another idea came. Every one of those new ideas is evidence that this original idea is attracting other ideas that are in harmony, that are in the same frequency of vibration. That's what we call the law of attraction. It's the secondary law to the law of vibration. Maybe you're talking to someone and out of the blue, they start to share with you something associated with your dream. Bingo. You're at the grocery store and you run into a friend and they start talking to you about something and it ties right into what you're dreaming about. That's evidence that you've attracted other energy to it. Maybe you meet somebody and they say, you know what, I know somebody you should talk to. Or they have some connection or resource, some tool. Maybe it's an app, maybe it's a software. And now all of a sudden you have something more than that you didn't have a day ago. That's evidence. You want to celebrate every single piece of the evidence that's showing up. And you want to write it down, because this fortifies your faith, not only in you, not only in the dream, but in the process. In the process, it's not enough for you to have the dream. You want to know that the truth is coming into appearance. Here's the third thing I want you to do, is I want you to write down the resources that you are already aware that you have. Like, you've got this dream, you've got this goal. What are some of the resources? What are some of the gifts, talents, abilities, skills that you already have in order to bring this? Because so many times I'm creating a program right now called Double Your Income. And so let's say you take somebody who's making $60,000 a year. If they're going to make $120,000 a year, they immediately begin to write down all the reasons why they can't do it. They start to think of all the reasons why I can't. They come from this position of lack of resource. This is the exact opposite of that. This is saying, I've got this dream, I've got this goal, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take inventory of the skills, the talents, the abilities, the resources, the connections that I do have. So, are you creative and imaginative? That would be a resource. Are you disciplined? Are you persistent? Do you have the gift of determination? Are you hardworking? Do you have a highly developed intuition, one of your 6 intellectual faculties? Are you really intuitive? Because that's certainly a resource. Are you a good communicator? Do you inspire other people when you speak to them? Can you rally around your team? Are you a good team builder? I want you to write, because every single one of these resources serves as evidence. Most dreams fail, and most goals fail because people quit. And they quit because they don't believe it's working. They begin to look for evidence of their goal being manifest. They don't see anything. They don't see the money showing up. They don't see the new clients. And so they say it's not working, so they quit. If you have this evidence that you've got these skills, talents, abilities, if you have the evidence of the clarity of what this dream really is, and you know the feeling tone of it, if you have this list of connections, this list of things that you've attracted that show that this dream is already working, it fortifies your faith in doing this. So it doesn't feel like you're working against all the effort that you're putting forward, that it's just not moving you forward. It's not like you're pushing a snowball up the hill or you're swimming against the tide. You see, hold it. Even though the money hasn't come, even though the clients haven't come, even though the project hasn't moved forward, I know with certainty that within me I'm growing. Remember, we're going to grow inside first. It's been said that seeing is believing. So it's not enough for you to say, well, I know what resources I have and I know these things are happening. No. You want to write them down. What you write, you invite into your life. James Allen said in his book, As a Man Thinketh, he said, what we want to do is we want to foster, nurture, and cherish this dream. So if we're going to foster, nurture, and cherish our dream, we're going to need to spend some time with it. We're going to need to invest in it. We're going to have that emotional connection to it. So I want to encourage you to do these 3 exercises. If you've missed any of the past teaching from this course on Fully Resourced, make sure you go out to our YouTube channel and watch it. If you're watching now, really would appreciate if you would click that like button, make a comment, and most importantly, hit that share button. That helps us kind of bring this out to the world. I'm committed that I'm teaching pieces of this program for free because I know some people right now just aren't in a position, either financially up until now, they're not in a position to invest in a program like this, or they lack the belief that they're even worthy of making an investment in themselves. If you're further along the road and you have the financial resources and you know that this would be your next step, I would welcome and invite you to click on the link below. Schedule an appointment with one of our program coordinators. It costs you absolutely nothing to explore what this program can do for you. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain by having a conversation. Hey, if the worst thing that happens is that you speak your dream to someone on my team, just speaking your dream to another person gives life to it. Life and death begins in the tongue. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was made flesh. I hope that you'll consider joining this year-long mentorship program, having lifetime access for all of the teaching, and then monthly mentorship calls with me. Click on the link below. I'll see you next week. Hold your image. Be well.